I think what I remember most about films is the people that I've worked with rather than the film itself.
They weren't bad men, not at all. They had that old school grit. But let's be real, these guys were hardcore to the bone. Sam Elliott's voice didn't just echo through generations, it carved its place into American culture. That rough, gravelly tone, so deep and steady, hits your ears and you instantly know it's him. The mustache, the wide-brim hat, that slow, confident cowboy walk, Sam wasn't acting, he was living it. But behind that calm cowboy look, there's a storm that's been brewing for decades. Most fans have no clue about the weight Sam's been carrying. For all the respect he earned over his 60-year career, there are 6 actors he's never forgiven. Some disrespected the craft, others crossed him in ways he never spoke about, until now. At 80 years old, Sam's done holding his tongue. He's finally calling people out, and once you hear who made his blacklist, you'll never see them the same again. Let's kick things off with the one actor who pushed Sam past his breaking point, so bad he walked off set and never looked back. Kevin Costner, the Hollywood cowboy Sam couldn't stand. See, Sam Elliott earned every bit of his cowboy image. Every line, every scene came from real life. Dust, sweat, and long days under that hot western sun. He didn't pretend to be a cowboy, he was one. He grew up with ranch life in his blood. The dirt, the silence, the discipline, it all shaped him. His presence felt real. You could almost smell the leather in his voice, see the stories carved into his stare. But then came Kevin Costner, Hollywood's polished version of a rancher. When Costner showed up in Wyatt Earp and later strutted around as the tough patriarch in Yellowstone, Sam wasn't impressed, not one bit. To him, Costner looked like a movie star dressed for a photo shoot. Clean boots, perfect lighting, smooth lines, not a drop of grit in sight. Like he was posing for a magazine cover instead of living life on a prairie. Sam once told a friend he plays a rancher like it's dress-up, and said Costner was basically cosplaying a life he never really knew. While millions were hyping Yellowstone, raving about the sweeping landscapes, the heavy drama, the slow-motion standoffs, Sam was somewhere rolling his eyes hard. He didn't see the real West, he saw a shiny movie version of it. To him, it looked like something made for people who never hammered a fence post or smelled cattle before sunrise. In Sam's mind, the whole show was nothing more than a polished postcard, pretty to look at, sure, but empty inside. Word around town says Sam was even offered a cameo and straight up refused. He supposedly called the show a soap opera with a cowboy hat. That wasn't just him turning down a role, it was a full-on message, a bold statement about what he thought Yellowstone really stood for. To Sam Elliott, Westerns were sacred, a way of life built on grit, quiet strength, and men who said more with a stare than a speech. He believed real cowboys didn't need fancy words or flashy lighting, but to him, Costner brought all shine and no soul, big-budget glitz with no dust on his boots. Even when the two were in the same room, you could feel the frost. One producer even said they never yelled, but the air was so cold it could freeze a desert. And that icy energy, that was just the start, because next up was a clash that no one saw coming. Benedict Cumberbatch. Sam said this star was way too British for the West. In 2021, Sam Elliott shocked fans and insiders alike when he went off on the power of the dog. No sugarcoating, no polite Hollywood smiles, just raw, unfiltered honesty, the kind that hits like a saloon door slamming open on a silent night. Sam's words hit like a hammer, fast, sharp, and impossible to ignore. It wasn't just some casual critique about pacing or camera angles, it got personal. He went straight for Benedict Cumberbatch, slicing through him with razor-sharp words. Sam called out his accent, his body language, even his whole approach, saying Cumberbatch gave a prissy take on a Western rancher that didn't sit right with him. And Sam wasn't hiding behind polite interviews or carefully worded statements. He meant every word. He delivered each line like a man spitting out the truth one syllable at a time. Then came the line that set the internet on fire. What the hell does this Brit know about the American West? He didn't backtrack, didn't soften it up for Hollywood comfort. During that podcast, you could hear the frustration in his voice. He was done pretending. It was clear he couldn't believe what he'd seen or how Hollywood had the nerve to call that a Western. And the internet, it exploded. Fans of Cumberbatch and defenders of the film's modern twist on masculinity came out swinging. Social media turned into a full-blown war zone overnight, posts flying, opinions clashing. Critics started calling Sam a dusty relic from another era, claiming he was stuck in the past and couldn't handle change. But Sam, he didn't flinch. No apology, no fake PR spin, no second-guessing himself. He stayed rock solid, sitting in his truth like a man who'd been through too many storms to start bending now. He wasn't moving for anybody. In Sam's eyes, the power of the dog didn't just miss the heart of the West, it disrespected everything it stood for. He felt the film twisted the idea of masculinity into something fragile and theatrical, a Hollywood performance instead of real-life grit. To Sam, Westerns were supposed to honor the quiet kind of strength, the kind you feel in the silence, not the kind you act out for an audience. This wasn't about tearing down one actor, this was about protecting a legacy. To him, that legacy was built on dirt, sweat, and a personal code stronger than any fancy monologue. It was about the kind of man who said a lot without saying much at all. Benedict Cumberbatch never fired back publicly, but insiders say Sam's words hit hard. Studio execs even whispered about whether they should respond, maybe release a calm, diplomatic statement to cool things off. But Cumberbatch kept quiet. No tweets, no press spin, no drama. Just silence instead of a circus. Meanwhile, Sam stood his ground like a gunslinger who'd already taken 10 paces back, fired his shot, and wasn't sticking around to see who flinched. For him, the West wasn't a costume or some nostalgic filter for TV. It was real life. It was built on truth, discipline, and generations of people who lived by their word. And Sam wasn't about to let anyone, no matter how famous or award-winning, rewrite that story. If people didn't like how he defended that history, so be it. He wasn't losing a second of sleep. But then came the next name, and this one really shook people up. Ashton Kutcher. The actor Sam believed had flat out embarrassed the craft. To Sam, acting was sacred. It wasn't about fame or social media followers. It was about discipline, patience, and emotional honesty that came from living, not pretending. He saw acting as something earned, not given. So when Ashton Kutcher rose to fame with That 70s Show, then coasted through romantic comedies and made headlines for his flashy Silicon Valley ventures, Sam didn't cheer. He rolled his eyes. To him, that wasn't the grind of a real actor. It was show business dressed up as art. And that kind of thing made Sam's blood boil. To Sam, it felt like watching someone cut the line in a world where respect was supposed to be earned, step by step, role by role. Still, when fate put him and Ashton Kutcher side by side in the Netflix series The Ranch, Sam kept things tight and professional. He showed up, hit his marks, nailed his lines, and carried himself with that same quiet discipline he'd built his whole career on. He wasn't there to make friends, he was there to work. But behind the scenes, the tension was real. Crew members whispered about how heavy the air felt whenever the two were around each other. Even in calm moments, Sam would be off to the side, shaking his head, muttering under his breath, "He's a decent guy, but no real actor." It wasn't Kutcher's attitude that rubbed him the wrong way, it was everything he represented. To Sam, Ashton symbolized this new version of Hollywood, where algorithms mattered more than instinct, follower counts meant more than resumes, and being charming on camera passed as actual skill. To Sam, that wasn't progress, it was a slow downfall. He felt like storytelling was being hollowed out, turned into quick clips and marketable moments instead of honest emotion. Fans at home saw chemistry between the two on screen, but Sam knew better. That was just the job, not a bond. Kutcher stayed polished in public, praising Sam in interviews, calling him a legend, and even labeling him a mentor. But Sam, behind closed doors, he didn't share the same sentiment. More than once, he was overheard saying he's acting like a guy who learned acting from YouTube, and he meant it. It wasn't coming from a place of jealousy, it came from standards. Sam had spent his entire career guarding those standards, the ones built on truth, patience, and soul. To him, Hollywood was losing that spark, swapping depth for data, art for algorithms. So while the ranch might have looked brotherly and heartwarming on screen, Sam wasn't feeling any of that off camera. For him, there was no real bond, just tolerance, pure and simple. The smiles were for the cameras, the warmth for the script, nothing more. And just when you thought Sam's list ended there, think again. Because next on Sam's radar was Nicolas Cage. Too loud, too wild, and everything Sam didn't respect in an actor. To Sam, real power didn't come from shouting, breaking things, or flinging yourself across the room. It came from stillness, control, and the kind of presence that made people listen even when you said nothing at all. For Sam, true acting came from a quiet burn, a stare that lingered just a second too long, a silence heavy enough to say everything without another word. He believed greatness wasn't about volume or flash, it was about control, patience, and precision. Every detail mattered. So when Nicolas Cage stormed into the mainstream with his explosive, wild style, the flailing arms, the manic energy, the wide-eyed chaos, Sam didn't see brilliance, he saw disorder. To him, Cage wasn't becoming the character, he was consuming the screen. Every scene turned into a one-man circus, leaving everyone else scrambling for space. It felt more like a performance for attention than a real portrayal of truth. And Sam wanted no part of that chaos. Even when they worked together on Ghost Rider, Sam stayed polite but distant, always respectful, always professional, but warmth? Not even close. On the surface, they got through the job just fine, but under it all, the gap between them was massive. Later in interviews, Sam never mentioned Cage by name, but his words cut deep and clear. He talked about actors who couldn't help but steal the spotlight, who treated every scene like a personal showcase, turning subtle moments into overblown theater with their look-at-me energy. Sam's inner circle didn't need him to spell it out. They already knew who he meant. He once told a confidant, "He's more firework than flame. Big bang, no heat." And that line said it all. To Sam, Cage was pure flash, bright, loud, unforgettable for a second, but gone just as fast. Meanwhile, Sam stood rooted in the old ways, the kind of acting that drew people in instead of knocking them back. He believed in power through stillness, in holding attention through truth, not tricks. He trusted performances that made audiences lean forward, not jump from surprise. To him, Cage represented a dangerous shift in modern Hollywood, a chase for shock over story, noise over nuance, style over soul. And while Cage kept racking up fans and even snagged awards for what critics called brilliantly unhinged performances, Sam wasn't buying it. He saw it as the industry mistaking chaos for creativity. And to a man like Sam Elliott, that was the biggest loss of all. But Sam wasn't buying it, not for a second. In his mind, no golden statue or fancy award could ever cover up what he saw as empty theatrics. Real acting to him came from the inside, from honesty, stillness, and raw human truth. And Sam believed Nicolas Cage had left all that behind a long time ago. But the name that truly stung, the one that cut deeper than all the rest, was someone Sam once held close, Jeff Bridges, the friend who slowly drifted away. Back in the day, Sam and Jeff were seen as two men cut from the same rugged cloth, grounded, weathered, and strong in spirit. They didn't need loud speeches or over-the-top emotion to own a scene. Their power lived in silence, in presence. When they teamed up on the cult classic The Big Lebowski, it wasn't just movie magic. There was a real bond behind the camera, too. They laughed, talked for hours, swapped stories about the old days, and built a friendship that felt rock solid, rooted in respect and their shared love for real storytelling. But over time, something started to shift. Not in an explosive way. No fights, no drama, but quiet, slow, and sad. like a rope slowly unraveling, strand by strand. Sam started noticing little cracks in the foundation. After Jeff won his Oscar for Crazy Heart, the humble man Sam once knew began to look different. The cowboy spirit had been replaced by something slicker, more polished. Suddenly, Jeff was everywhere, posing for glossy magazine spreads, rocking designer suits, talking politics, showing up in sleek interviews with picture-perfect lighting. The guy who once kept things low-key was now part of the Hollywood machine Sam had always kept at arm's length. To outsiders, it looked like success, evolution even. But to Sam, it felt like losing a brother to the spotlight. The easy humility, the grounded presence, the simple realness, they were fading behind curated images and public appearances. Sam couldn't say it out loud, but deep down, it hurt. Because this wasn't just another actor chasing fame, this was Jeff Bridges, a man he once thought would never trade authenticity for applause. A source close to Sam once said Jeff became harder to reach, harder to read, and more tangled up in the Hollywood machine than ever before. To Sam, it felt like the raw honesty that once defined Jeff had been buffed down into something smooth, shiny, and almost manufactured. The simple code they'd always lived by, let the work speak louder than the fame, was starting to fade beneath all the layers of celebrity polish. In one rare interview, when Sam was asked about the people he'd worked with, he didn't drop Jeff's name, but he didn't have to. He just leaned back, looked at the reporter, and said softly, "Some folks change." 3 words, but they landed harder than a punch. Then he added, "Others just show who they always were." And everyone in the room knew exactly who he was talking about. To most, it sounded like a clean, quiet shot at Jeff Bridges, and even though Jeff didn't clap back, staying calm, diplomatic, and collected, as always, the silence between them said everything. No more shared interviews, no more showing up together at festivals, no more stories about the two of them grabbing dinner like old brothers. The duo that once moved in sync, both on and off the screen, had simply stopped. But for Sam, this wasn't about ego or fame, not even close. It wasn't jealousy or competition eating at him. It was something deeper, something that hit him in the heart, not the headlines. He wasn't angry, he was just quietly hurt. Because the bond he'd built with Jeff wasn't based on awards or fame, it was built on values, loyalty, simplicity, and mutual respect. So when that bond started to crack, it didn't break loud. It broke quietly, like a small ache that never went away. Insiders said Sam didn't walk around bitter or resentful. He just looked like a man who'd been left behind by someone he thought would always stand beside him. To those close to him, it was clear. Sam didn't feel betrayed. He just felt forgotten. Like Jeff had drifted into another world, one filled with red carpets and glossy covers, while Sam stayed rooted in the dust and truth of the world they'd once shared. And that kind of distance, it cuts way deeper than any public argument ever could. Sam carried that weight in silence, just like the cowboy he always was. But even after all the names and broken bonds, nothing could have prepared Sam for the final name on his list, the one that cut deepest of all. Jared Leto, the method-gone-mad actor who pushed Sam's patience past his breaking point. See, Sam Elliott's biggest irritation has never been confidence or passion, it's pretension, that loud, look-at-me attitude that turns acting into a sideshow instead of something real for the audience. So, when Jared Leto started making headlines for his extreme method stunts, sending rats to co-stars, staying locked in character for weeks, turning film sets into emotional obstacle courses, Sam didn't see brilliance. He saw a gimmick. To him, it wasn't art, it was a distraction dressed up as dedication. The headlines, the interviews, the Oscar talk, it didn't impress Sam one bit. It annoyed him. He once blasted that whole method circus as theatrics masquerading as talent, and he didn't whisper it in secret either. He said it straight up to a close friend. His exact words? If he needs that much effort to act, maybe he's in the wrong profession. And Sam meant every syllable. Because to him, great acting didn't need rats, chaos, or viral stories. It needed truth, restraint, and precision. Sam believed in disappearing into a role quietly, without bragging about how hard you disappeared. It wasn't supposed to feel like a carnival. It was supposed to feel human, raw, and real. That's what the craft meant to him. And even though Sam and Jared never shared a set, insiders say they almost did once. Sam had been attached to a film early on. He liked the script, he liked the director, everything lined up perfectly. But the second he heard Jared Leto had joined the cast, he walked away. No drama, no statement, no scene, just a silent exit. That move said everything. No arguments, no press release, just Sam Elliott doing what he's always done, sticking to his code. Because for him, acting was never supposed to be a loud circus. It was meant to be grounded, sincere, and alive with real emotion. When Sam heard Leto's name, it reminded him just how far the industry had drifted from the honesty and humility he'd spent his life protecting. At 80 years old, Sam Elliott isn't fighting for screen time anymore. He's fighting for truth, for tradition, for the kind of honest, stripped-down storytelling that built the foundation of his entire career. He's the last of a dying breed, the kind of actor who doesn't need fireworks to make people feel something real. And if standing by that means standing alone, Sam will do it without hesitation. Because in a world full of noise, gimmicks, and viral fame, Sam Elliott still walks tall, steady, grounded, carrying himself like the last real cowboy left in Hollywood. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Which of Sam's feuds shocked you the most? Do you think he was being harsh or just honest about what the industry's become? Drop your thoughts down below. Hit that like button if you felt that old school fire, and don't forget to subscribe for more wild behind-the-scenes stories that Hollywood doesn't want you to hear.